You dig? What's up, y'all? It's your boy Cameron. This is power inherent in the people. All power in you, in me, and all of us collectively. Yo, man, I appreciate y'all being here with me. I just want to let y'all know there's so much going on in the back end beyond just these videos. In Operation Wisdom, we are collectively working together on everybody's situations, whatever it may be, and it is a lot of different things. Something that I'm also really proud of is last year in September we started what's called the traffic law reform. It is a petition. The link is down in the description. All you have to do is sign it, because we are going to get to 1,000 very soon, and we are going to change the traffic laws all around America. That's what we're doing, y'all. Also, if you don't know, I am an author now of a book. It's called The Last Tread. Yes, I used a pen name, James Bullock, but James is my middle name and Bullock is my family lineage name. Y'all can check that out. We've got it available both in soft copy. We've got it available in, well, there's a digital, so you can get like the PDF ebook and the audiobook, and then we've got the soft copy as well. And then let me see what else we got going on, man. Yeah, it's crazy. We got so much that we're just doing on the back end. It's really busy. But something I wanted to go into today, someone sent me this in an email, and I thought it'd just be a good read for everybody. Again, you know, I'm all about the right to travel, so let's get into it. All right, y'all ready? Let's go. Wait. No law requires you to record or pledge. I know a lot of people out there like those passports and the pledging, but no law requires you to pledge or record your private automobile. As will be made painfully evident here within, a private automobile is not required by any law, code, or statute to be recorded. Any recording or pledge of an private automobile to any agency is strictly voluntary. You understand that, right? You can't be forced to do anything. You get that, right? You comprehend that, correct? Any recordation contract you or a dealership has done was a fraudulently conveyed act, as the recording agency or automobile dealer told you that you must record your private property. The voluntary pledge that was done without just compensation is usually done through fraud, deceit, coercion, and withholding of facts, which can only be construed as fraud and unjust enrichment by agency, as well as a willful, malicious act to unjustly enrich the recording agency and its public servants. Yeah, that DMV. Yeah, that AAMVA. Okay. If men through fear. This is important. Listen to this now. Listen to this. I want you to listen to this with the utmost importance. The reason being is because we got so many people out here that are giving you fear to make you comply. And that is not how this country works. Not at all. Because millions died for you, y'all. If men through fear, quote now, I think, yes, it is. If men through fear, fraud, or mistake should in terms renounce or give up any natural right, the eternal law of reason and the grand end of society would absolutely vacate such renunciation. We have to get back to this, y'all. The right to freedom. The right to freedom. The right to freedom being the gift of the almighty great creator God. It is not in the power of man. It is not in the power of any man, agency, policeman, enforcement of man to alienate this gift and voluntarily become a slave. Thank you, Samuel Adams. I need to start drinking that beer a little more. Our great president. Quote, men are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and to secure, not grant, or create these rights, and to secure, not grant, or create these rights. You can't create a privilege from a right. You can't take away a right to give a privilege. These rights, governments, are instituted. That property which a man has honestly acquired, he retains full control of, subject to these limitations. First, that he shall not use it to his neighbor's injury. Thank you. Don't hurt another being. golden rule, and that does not mean that he must use it for his neighbor's benefit. Thank you. You can't make me sign into your program for your benefit. Second, that if he devotes it to a public use, he gives to the public a right to control that use. And third, that whenever the public needs require, the public may take it upon payment of due compensation. Budd versus People of State, 1892. We got to get back to 1892 spirit. We got to get back to recognizing that, freedom is freedom. There should be no arbitrary deprivation of right or liberty or arbitrary spoliation of property, police power, due process, Barber versus Connolly, and Yo versus Hopkins. Now, but whenever the operation and effect of a general regulation is to extinguish or destroy that which by law of the land is the property of any person, so far as it has that effect, it is unconstitutional and void. Thus, a law is considered as being a deprivation of property. Thus, a law is considered as being a deprivation of property within the meaning of this constitutional guarantee if it deprives an owner of one of its essential attributes, destroys its value, restricts or interprets its common, necessary, or profitable use, hampers the owner in the application of it to the purpose of trade, or imposes conditions upon the right to hold or use it, and thereby seriously impairs its value. Got a page skip going on here. Let's get it right. Continue to scroll, please. Thank you. Its value, okay? That's coming out of constitutional law. Amjurors, we need to get this. I got a guy that's telling me he's going to give me this. We'll see. It's very expensive. Justice Bandies eloquently affirmed his condemnation of abuses practiced by government officials who were defendants acting as government officials in the case of Olmsted versus U.S. in 1928. He declared, decency, security, and liberty alike demand that government officials shall be subjected to the same rules of conduct that are commands to the citizen. In a government of laws, existence of the government will be imperiled if it fails to observe the law scrupulously. Our government is the potent, the omnipresent teacher. For good or for ill, it teaches the whole people by its example. Thank you. Can't you see our country is being very ill, is very sick right now? Crime is contagious. If the government becomes a lawbreaker, it breeds contempt for law. Thank you. It invites every man to become a law unto himself. It invites anarchy. Now, I don't know, is anarchy okay? Is anarchy okay if we don't have a leader? I've been hearing some people speak about what anarchy truly is. To declare that, in the administration of the law, the end justifies the means would bring a terrible retribution. Oh, thank you. Against that pernicious doctrine, this court should resolutely set its face, unquote. So, what is the duty of the licensor or the DMV commissioner? The information created in surrounding the stricti juris doctrine. What is that? Stricti juris doctrine. Regarding a particular license, which may or may not be represented by and revealed within the contents and control of a license agreement, quote, but must be revealed upon demand, and failure to do so is concealment and withholding of material facts, the enduring contractual consideration known by those who have a duty and are bound to reveal, unquote. Dulcator versus Manufacturers Traders Trust Co. Is an automobile always a vehicle or motor vehicle? Argument. Federal. Motor vehicle means every description of carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used, and you see that and? That means that and it must include this part I'm about to read as well. It can't be just the first part. It doesn't mean just this. Every description of carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. I know some will get out here and tell you, you must have this private whatever they utilize, this paperwork, this passport, this status. That's not how this works. Why? Because the language right here within the federal aspect states, and. That and means coupled, used, so it must be this, and used for commercial purposes on the highways. With another one, in. So not only does it have to be for use for commercial purposes on the highways, but in transportation of passengers and property, or property and cargo. Used for commercial purposes means the carriage of persons or property for any fare, fee, rate, charge, or other consideration, or directly or indirectly in connection with any business or other undertaking intended for profit. 18 U.S.C. 31. It's cold, cut, and clear. There is nothing else that's what it is. Now, people get mad at me because they're saying, you're telling people not to go out here and get a driver's license. I'm reading what is put out. I am reading what is backing everything that we know to be true inside. It's just common sense. So this right here is just enforcing common sense, because our nation is built on freedom, because we had millions of people that died for us. That's how this works. Now, a carriage is peculiarly, quote, a carriage is peculiarly a family or household article. Household article. Household good. It contributes in a large degree to the health, conveyance, comfort, and welfare of the householder or of the family, unquote. Arthur versus Morgan in 1884. Now, the Supreme Court in Arthur versus Morgan doesn't say the year, held that carriages were properly classified as household effects. And we see no reason that automobiles should not be similarly disposed of, unquote. So do we get it now? Everybody be like, well, I don't want to say everybody. I be having people on the back end being like, no, man, that was for horses and carriages and stuff, and those things don't even apply. It applies. There it is right here. Hill House versus United States. Here it is right here. Let me read it to you directly in your face. The Supreme Court in Arthur versus Morgan held that carriages were properly classified as household effects or household goods, and we see no reason that automobiles should not be similarly disposed of. What do you want me to tell you? What do you want me to tell you? Hill House versus United States in 1907. Quote, a soldier's personal automobile is part of his household goods, unquote. U.S. versus Bomar. Is that 7 Bomar? 7 Bomar, are you out here, bro? What's up, 7? Okay. Quote, it is a jury question whether. It is a jury question whether an automobile is a motor vehicle. United States versus Johnson. 1983. Uh-oh. So you see what they're doing here. Now let me break this down just 1 second, because what we got going on here is this. I don't like this phrase. And the reason I don't like this phrase, which I guess I could utilize it if I was ever to use a jury, but the juries today, man, are like, they not very intelligent when it comes to law. They don't know the laws. So for you to be able to adequately break them down, you can't just come up with some language and just say it. You have to, in your own aspect to the jury, make sure you take them from beginning all the way to end, thoroughly explaining with thorough case law to get them to comprehend that not only are you innocent, but that they've been tricked as well. And that indoctrination and belief in people is very hard to overcome. I have loved ones that I'm still trying to overcome it with, and it's been 9 years that I've been doing this. So just so you know, jury trials, I don't know if they're always the best choice, y'all. Just saying. State. Use determines classification. This is always the big thing too. Again, like I say, you can have a driver's license if you want. Nobody's saying you can't. Your use determines the classification. So even if you have a driver's license, yes, you can bring forth your right to travel. My only thing in this is that that contract with the driver's license, that contract with the registration, that contract with the DMV, and if you think of it really on the higher level, which is the AAMVA, is complicated, because when you seek an application, you're giving up certain rights, and then you're also establishing a co-ownership or benefit with the state. So you become a co-owner while the state has a contractual agreement or security interest and tie to your vehicle, thus the eligibility for them to be able to tow it. It's within the contract. That nexus. Quote, in determining whether or not a motorboat was included in the expression household effects matter of when Burns will supra stated the test to be whether the articles are or are not used in or by the household or for the benefit or comfort of the family. And this is in regards to Bloomingdale's estate in 1955. Quote, the use to which an item is put rather than its physical characteristics determine whether it should be classified as consumer goods under UCC 9-1091 or equipment under UCC 9-1092. Grims versus Massey Ferguson. And they be telling you, oh, it don't matter, UCC don't matter, that is not applicable. Well, we got Grimes versus Massey Ferguson Inc. right here talking about it itself in 1978, Alabama. So what y'all talking about? Yes, UCC applies. Quote, under UCC 9-109, there is a real distinction between goods purchased for personal use and those purchased for business use. The two are mutually exclusive, and the principal use to which the property is put should be considered as determinative. As determinative. The principal use to which the property is put should be considered as determinative. James Talcott, Inc. versus G. 1968. So these ain't far. This isn't like this. All of these are 1910. We've got some very close, y'all. The classification of goods in UCC 9-109 are mutually exclusive. McFadden versus Mercantile Safe Deposit and Trust Company in 1971. Quote, the classification of goods under UCC 9-109 is a question of fact. Remember that fact pattern is everything. Material facts can be everything. Morgan County Feeders Inc. versus McCormick in 1992. Colorado Appeals. Quote, the definition of goods includes an automobile. Oh my God, let's pass out now. Let's do it. It's a household good. The definition of goods includes an automobile. That means that just like this is a household good, this is a household good, all of my belongings here are household goods, right? Well, so is my car. So is my automobile. That was Henson versus Government Employees Finance and Industrial Loan Corp. in 1974. Household goods. The term household goods includes everything about the house that is usually held and enjoyed therewith, and that tends to the comfort and accommodation of the household. You hear that? You hear that? Includes everything in very big bold letters. Law will versus law will. Okay. And this was, I don't see the year though. It's all right. Quote, bequest of such household goods and effects includes household goods and effects, persons, property, private affairs, included not only household furniture, but everything else in the house that is usually held and used by the occupants of a house to lead to the comfort and accommodation of the household. Mueller versus Probate Court of Ramsey County. Quote, all household goods owned by the user thereof and used solely for non-commercial purposes shall be exempt from taxation. Wow. There it is for everybody. There it is for everybody. There it is. All household goods owned by the user thereof and used solely for non-commercial purposes shall be exempt from taxation. Let me ask you this. Is a driver's license a form of taxation? Is registration a form of taxation? And such person entitled to such exemption shall not be required to take any affirmative action to receive the benefit from such exemption. How much more plain can I get? So let me again read this to you directly. Because it comes from Arizona's Constitution, Article 9, Section 2. Just so you know, all household goods owned by the user. We already know an automobile is a household good. We've already seen it referenced in other case law. Do you see how we build the storyline? Build the material facts? All household goods are owned by the user thereof and used solely. Therefore, and used solely for non-commercial purposes, shall be exempt from taxation, and such person entitled to such exemption shall not be required to take any affirmative action to receive the benefit from such exemption. Benefit, privilege, to use the roads in a commercial capacity. Unquote. Let's keep it going. Arizona, y'all got action. Just so you know, that's all you need. Automobiles classified as vehicles. Quote, household goods did not include an automobile used by the testator, who was a practicing physician in going from his residence to his office and vice versa, and in making visits to his patients. Unquote. Mathis versus Causey. You don't think you want to use this one in your language that you're using? 1931. Debtors could not avoid, quote, debtors could not avoid lien on motor vehicle, as motor vehicles are not household goods. Debtors could not avoid lien on motor vehicle, as motor vehicles are not household goods within the meaning of Bankruptcy Code lien avoidance provision in regarding Martinez, Bankruptcy, New Mexico. Automobiles not classified as vehicles. Quote, automobile purchased for the purpose of transporting buyer to and from his place of employment was consumer goods, as defined in UCC 9-109, Malacote versus Volunteer Finance and Loan Corporation in 1966. Quote, the provisions of the UCC 2-316 of the Maryland UCC do not apply to sales of consumer goods, a term which includes automobiles, whether new or used, that are bought primarily for personal, family, or household use. Maryland Independent Automobile Dealers Association, Inc. versus Administrator Motor Vehicle Admin, 1978. You hear that one? The provisions of UCC 2-316 of the Maryland UCC do not apply to the sales of consumer goods. Don't apply. Quote, an automobile was part of testatrix household goods within codicil in regards to Mitchell's will. In 1942, cites Arthur versus Morgan, Supra. Quote, the expression personal effects clearly includes an automobile. In regards to Burnside's will, quote, a yacht and 6 automobiles were personal belongings and household effects. In regards to Bloomingdale's estate, 1955. Conclusion: Is an automobile always a vehicle or motor vehicle? No. This is a question of fact that turns on the use to which an automobile in question is put, i.e., either personal or commercial, while the presumption, which they have, you must rebut, of an automobile being a vehicle or motor vehicle is created by the owner of said automobile registering the same with the states as a vehicle. This presumption may be overcome by an affirmative defense to the allegation of the automobile being a vehicle, bearing any evidence of the contrary indicating commercial use. Use defines classification. Private automobile is not required to be registered by law. The California Motor Vehicle Code Section 260, private cars, vans, etc., not in commerce for profit are immune to registration fees. Private cars, vans, etc., not in commerce or profit, are immune to registration fees. A commercial vehicle is a vehicle or of a type required to be registered under this code. B. Passenger vehicles which are not used in transportation of persons for hire, compensation, or profit in household and house cars are not commercial vehicles. C. A van pool vehicle is not a commercial vehicle. Thank you. Quote, a vehicle not used for commercial activity is a consumer good. These are quotes now, y'all. I hope y'all are understanding. This is not someone speaking their opinion. These are what this is opinions from Supreme Court. Let's get it right. Let's not have people out here trying to tell us false information in the aspect that, hey man, you must have a driver's license. We're reading direct. It's not my opinion. We're reading the facts. Don't let people fool you or put you in fear or intimidation. It's not how this works. Again, a vehicle not used for commercial activity is a consumer goods. It is not a type of vehicle required to be registered and use tax paid, of which the tab is evident of receipt of the tax. You get it? You get it? The tab is evidence of receipt of the tax. That tag, that registration is tab. It's evidence of a receipt of the tax. Well, we already read that we can't be taxed up above. Arizona's Constitution. Bank of Boston versus Jones for UCC. Quote, it is held that a tax upon common carriers by motor vehicles is based upon a reasonable classification and does not involve any unconstitutional discrimination. Do you see that? Let's get it back. Let's get the definitions correct so we comprehend what's going on. It is held that a tax upon common we now know what carrier is, right? If you went through the Most Sacred Liberty playlist, which is an advanced playlist or series on the right to travel, you understand what a carrier is. You understand what a common carrier is. You understand what a public carrier is. And you understand what a private carrier is. Just because it's private doesn't mean you're still not in contract under the Department of Transportation, which is in relation to traffic and thereby regulated by all of these agencies. Don't fool us. Or don't try, because you won't. It is held that a tax, illegal, upon, well, at least on the individual aspect, upon common carriers by motor vehicles is based upon a reasonable classification. Why? Because the classification is in relation to commerce and does not involve any unconstitutional discrimination, although it does not apply to private vehicles. We're not talking about private carriers. We're talking about private self-governing sovereign citizens and any of the highest in authority directly under the great creator, because again, the line of authority is God, man, government, or those used by the owner in his own business and not for hire. 1915, very distinct. Dresser versus Wichita, very distinct. This was in relation to Iowa Motor Vehicle Association versus the Railroad Commissioners. Directly against the Motor Vehicle Association. Thus, self-driven vehicles are classified according to the use to which they are put, rather than according to the means by which they are propelled. Oh my gosh. Thus, self-driven vehicles are classified according to the way that we are using the roads to which they are put, rather than them being how they are propelled. They're literally strictly telling you, it doesn't matter if you have a horse in front. It doesn't matter if you have a motor. It doesn't matter. The four wheels, in which someone told me, it's something that's got four wheels with a motor in it. Oh my God, we got to bring our knowledge up. So, and this was in Ex parte Hoffert, okay? And, quote, in view of this rule, a statutory provision that the supervising officials may exempt such persons when the transportation is not on a commercial basis means that they must exempt them. They must. Do you see this? This is State versus Johnson. They must exempt us. when they understand, or it is brought forth, that we are not on a commercial basis. Now I hope everyone sees. All you got to do is invoke. All you got to do is inform. If they violate you, you are protected. You need to comprehend this. It's not me. It's not me that's saying this. It's not me that's coming up with this, as some would say in their ridicule, theory. This is no theory. This is truth. This is facts. You can't beat truth. You can't beat facts. You can't beat God. You can't beat natural law. You cannot defeat reason and logic in relation to our nation. It doesn't work like that. You will change your ways. You will stop with your false information, or you will lose everybody that backs you, because truth always prevails. Brother, improve yourself. You're better. See. Again, that was State versus Johnson. C. New Jersey Motor Vehicle Code, Chapter 3, Section 39 through 3-1. Certain vehicles exempted from chapter reads, quote, automobile, fire engines, and such self-propelling vehicles are as used neither for the conveyance of persons for hire, pleasure, or business, nor for the transportation of freights, such as steam, road rollers, and traction engines, are accepted from the provisions of this chapter. Well, what do you want me to tell you, brother? What do you want me to tell you, my brother? I got you. Giving you the facts and the fire, knowing that we come down. No, I'm not a lie. I be speaking truth from all inside, knowing that we ride. Do it how we glide all across the streets as we travel in. Coming down, they ain't stopping us, man. Uh-oh. Messed something up. All right, there we go. Now, see annual report of the Attorney General of the State of New York issued on July 21st of 1909, Albany, New York, pages 322 through 323, which reads, quote, there is no requirement that the owner of a motor vehicle shall procure a license to run the same, nor is there any requirement that any other person shall do so, unless he proposes to become a chauffeur or a person conducting an automobile as an employee for hire or wages. Yours very truly, Edward R. Malley, Attorney General. That will stand forever in my book. That will forever stand in my book, and there is no way that you are going to stop me or stop anyone from bringing that forth and receiving all remedy that is due to them. It's just not going to happen. There's no other way. It's right there, bold and plain for you from an Attorney General. So all these people that's like, oh, that's your opinion. Nope, I don't care. That's not how this works. See Laws of New York, 1901, chapters 53, page 1300. Okay, yeah. See also Laws of Wyoming, 2002, Motor Vehicle Code, page 142, section 31-5-110, CRCW 5.24.010. You see what I'm saying? They're going all over. So we talking about New York, Wyoming in 2002, and then we're coming back over here to Washington. Quote, privately owned buses are not engaged for hire transportation are outside the jurisdiction of Division of Motor Vehicles Enforcement of NCGS, Article 17, Chapter 20. It follows that those citizens not engaged in extraordinary use of the highway for profit or gain are likewise outside of the jurisdiction of the Division of Motor Vehicles. Booyah! Booyah! What do you want me to say? What should I say? What am I to say when I come across things like that? What do you want me to say? What am I supposed to do? Am I telling the truth? Am I telling a lie? Am I giving people false information? Hello? We're listening to attorney generals, judges, Supreme Court judges who are well beyond what these trolls and these so-called constitutional scholars bring forth to us. So why would we listen to someone who is of less intelligence? I can't, not to ridicule, but if I get ridiculed, then all I can do is bring forth the truth, which I'm not ridiculing. I'm just saying we have to up our intelligence, because you're hurting people by not telling them the truth. Quote, Since a sale of personal property is not required to be evidenced by any written instrument in order to be valid, it has been held in North Carolina that there may be a transfer of title to an automobile without complying with the registration statute, which requires a transfer and delivery of a certificate title. Okay, this is important. You want to know why? Because they tell you, like my boy Luis he's got a ticket right now, citation right now in relation to not transferring the title or whatever the case may be. But if we look right here, what we can notice in Carolina Discount Corp versus Landis Motor Co., since a sale of personal property now is not required to be evidenced by any written instrument. What is a written instrument now that we figured out with Luis? Government document. In order to be valid. It doesn't need a written instrument to be valid. So when these people out here, these cops and everything, be like, oh, well, he doesn't have a proper title. He's got the sovereign citizen paperwork. It's not sovereign citizen paperwork. It's his official legal paperwork, y'all. We are the highest of authority. Our paperwork, our signature, our fingerprints is higher than any government official document. That's how this works. You need to start really understanding that you are the highest. It has been held in North Carolina that there may be a transfer of title to an automobile without complying with the registration statute, which requires a transfer and delivery of a certificate of title. Thank you. Quote, the following shall be exempt from the requirements of registration and the certificate of title. Thank you. Let's get into it. 1. Any such vehicle driven or moved upon the highway in conformance. Now, this is a quote, y'all. Okay. Everything that we're reading is quotes. It's not an opinion that someone wrote. These are what's in law. Any such vehicle driven or moved upon the highway in conformance with the provisions of this article relating to manufacturers, dealers, or non-residents. 2. Any such vehicle which is driven or moved upon a highway only for the purposes of crossing such highway from one property to another. Okay, let's read that again. Shall be exempt from the requirements of registration and the certificate of title when any such vehicle which is driven or moved upon a highway only for the purposes of crossing such highway from one property to another. Comment, not driven or moved upon the highway for transporting persons or profit. Case note, North Carolina GS statutory construction. What do you want me to tell you? What do you want me to tell you? Do you see why I won't go and argue with anybody else now? Can't do it. He's asking me to come back on. What will it benefit us? What will it benefit him? The California Constitution in Article 1, Section 8, and similar statements made in all other state constitutions, similar statements made in all other state constitutions, mandates that no one be compelled to be a witness against himself. That means I can't be compelled to write against, enter myself into contract. You can't compel me. Then you cannot compel me to speak to you. Let's say someone stops me, I can never be compelled to be a witness against myself and tell you anything. If you try to force me to, with your fear, with your intimidation, it's null and void. It's null, constitutional violations. Is in agreement with the Supreme Court ruling in Haynes versus U.S., wherein the ruling was that to force anyone to register anything is communicative, and such communicative evidence is precluded by the Fifth Amendment. Thank you. Thank you. So just by telling me that I must register title is a violation of my Fifth Amendment. Do you see the depths? Now you tell me who's a constitutional scholar and who is not. I'm not claiming I'm a constitutional scholar, but I'll tell you I know one person who is not that claims to be. Quote, no state government entity has the power to allow or deny passage on the highways, byways, nor waterways transporting his vehicles and personal property for either recreation or business, but by being subject only to local regulation, i.e. safety, caution, traffic lights, speed lights, etc. Travel is not a privilege requiring licensing, vehicle registration, or forced insurances, unquote. Chicago Coach Company versus City of Chicago. Now this one is so important to me and probably my favorite, because again it says no state government entity or its subsidiaries has the power to allow or deny passage on the highways. Okay, and it also says that I will only be regulated. I can only be pulled over and stopped for either I can only be subject to local regulation, meaning the i.e. safety, caution, traffic lights, speed lights, etc. Swerving and all that, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm safe on the roads in my conduct, I will be protected. That is another quote, which I'm sure we'll find in here, because a lot of these quotes are within other documents that we've gone through. But, and I've actually seen this document put up somewhere. I think Brian actually used this document in this first video I shared over with Here's the Deal. But, yeah, these are so important for everybody, y'all. I need y'all to really recognize what's going on here. These are literal quotes, okay? Sources, primary sources. This is not my opinions. These are not what I want to be true. It is what's true. It's what we fail to recognize, and we need to bring it back to the forefront as far as truth is concerned. The fundamental right to travel is not a privilege. It's a gift granted by your and our Maker. And restated by our founding fathers as unalienable and cannot be taken by any man, government-made law, or color of law, known as a private code, secret, or statute, right? Government-made law, which everybody says, you must follow the law. Well, it's actually a color of law, and it's actually known as a private code or a statute for the state, because the state is a corporation. Just want y'all to remember this. To it, quote, as general rule, men have natural right to do anything which their inclinations may suggest, if it be not evil in and of itself, and in no way impairs the rights of others. In regards to Newman, 1858. Now, why is this so important? Because like I always say, man, I can do anything that I so please as long as I don't bring harm to another. That's something I just recognized within myself and state to people when they speak to me. I didn't know it was literally completely put out in a little bit more verbiage as this one in regards to Newman in 1858, which is, as general rule, men have natural right to do anything which their inclinations may suggest. Anything. If it be not evil in itself, and in no way impairs the rights of others. Quote, traveling is passing from place to place, act of performing journey, and traveler is a person who travels. In regards to Archie, 1858. Quote, the right of transit through each state with every species of property known to Constitution of the United States, not of America, but of the United States. There's a difference, and recognized by that paramount law is secured by that instrument to each citizen, and does not depend upon uncertain and changeable ground of mere comedy. In regards to Archie, 1858. Quote, traffic infractions are not a crime. Thank you. People versus battle. Thank you. You know what I might do? If anybody can be so gracious, I would like to have like a sticker that says that on my car, you know, like a vinyl. Traffic infractions are not a crime. People versus battle. I put it right on the back of my car and my window. That's a good one to have on your car right there. Traffic infractions are not a crime. People versus battle. Because I don't know how many times they've come up to me and they've said, no, failure to ID is a crime. No, sir, it's not. No, sir, it's not. Why do you think I'm going to stick to the Eddie Craig script and never deviate ever again? Because of all this stuff that we're learning right here and now. First, it is well-established law. Excuse me. Quote, first, it is well-established law that the highways of this state are public property. Public, mine, and yours. Mine and yours. Not theirs, mine and yours. And their primary, well, it is theirs too when they're not on the job. So excuse me, guys. I don't want to be rude. And their primary and preferred use is for private purposes. And their primary and preferred use is for private purposes. That means we are at the top. Everything else is down below. Everything. And that their use for the purposes of gain is special and extraordinary. So if you're using it for profit, if you're using it for gains, it's extraordinary. which, generally at least, the legislature may prohibit or condition as it sees fit, and only then. Stevenson versus Renford, Packard versus Banton, and cases cited, all the rest. Freedom to travel is indeed an important aspect of the citizen's liberty. Liberty, sacred liberty, cannot be taken. We are first concerned with the extent, if any, to which Congress has authorized its curtailment. Thank you, Kent versus Doles. The right to travel is a part of the liberty of which the citizen cannot be deprived without due process of law under the Fifth Amendment. So much is conceded by the Solicitor General. In Anglo-Saxon law, that right was emerging at least as early as Magna Carta. Kent versus Doles. Well, I don't fall under Anglo-Saxon law. You dig? Quote, the use of the highway for the purposes of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common and fundamental right of which the public and individuals cannot rightfully be deprived. Chicago Motor Coach versus Chicago. I mean, I could literally read that to my 7-year-old and she'd understand it. I don't see how Chile cannot. Quote, the right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon, either by carriage or automobile, is not a mere privilege which the city or state or government may prohibit or permit at will, but a common right which he has under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thompson versus Smith. Quote, even the legislator has no power to deny a citizen the right to travel upon the highway and transport his property in the ordinary course of his business or pleasure, though this right may be regulated in accordance with the public interest and convenience. Chicago Coach versus City of Chicago. I don't like that one though. Quote, it is now universally recognized that the state does possess such power to impose such burdens and limitations upon private carriers when using the public highways for the transaction of their business, with respect to common carriers using the public highways for the transaction of their business in the transportation of persons or property for hire. That rule is stated as follows by the Supreme Court of the United States. A citizen may have, under the 14th Amendment, the right to travel and transport his property upon them, the public highways, by auto vehicle, but he has no right to make the highways his place of business by using them as a common carrier for hire. See the difference? See the difference between you and your auto vehicle, private, on the public highway, versus one who is using the roads as a common carrier for hire? Such use is a privilege which may be granted or withheld by the state in its discretion without violating either the Due Process Clause or the Equal Protection Clause. But if they are out here acting like you are a common carrier, treating you as such, rather than privately in your auto vehicle, okay? What they're doing is they're violating Due Process Clause and the Equal Protection Clause. Buck versus Kuyet Kendall. Okay, so you need to pay attention to this, and this one would be a good quote to utilize within any case law or any stuff that you're submitting or filing, right? Quote, the right of the citizen to travel upon the highway and transport his property thereon in the ordinary course of life and business differs radically from that of one who makes the highway his place of business, and the use for private gain in the running of a stage, coach, or omnibus. The former is the usual and ordinary right of a citizen, living being, creation of the Creator, a right common to all, which cannot be regulated, administered in any fashion, while the latter is special, unusual, and extraordinary. As to the former, the extent of the legislative power is that of regulation, and only then can you regulate. But as to the latter, its power is broader. Right may be wholly denied, or it may be permitted to some and denied to others. Because of this extraordinary nature, this distinction, elementary and fundamental in character, is recognized by all the authorities. So this one's been going for almost an hour now. So what I want to do is I just want to leave y'all on this note. We'll come back to this. If you actually want to see me finish this one, I will. I don't have no problem reading this one all the way through with y'all. But what I need you to do is comment and say, hey, yeah, read it. I would love to hear your comments in relation to your opinions on this matter. But I think hopefully we're really comprehending that I'm a creation. I am a spark from the heavenly Father, Mother, Spirit, all encompassing everything that is. Everything around me right now is the great creator. I recognize it. I understand that truth. But I need you to understand, you as a person, whether you're law enforcement or you're not, we are all one. We have to unify in this knowing and knowledge so that we can beat those who have indoctrinated us in their methods to come against each other, when all we should be doing is coming together. We are one, y'all. I love y'all so much. I am you and we are us, and we are all a part of this great I am. For our future, for our children, for everything that we are about to create in this great nation from this moment on. I know you see it, and I feel the energy more than I've ever felt it in my life. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this video. Thank you for liking. Thank you for talking about it. Thank you for standing on your rights. Thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for being my hero. Thank you for supporting this movement, because it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. The next 5 to 10 years, we are having change, if not within this year alone. The great creator is working through all of us to allow the path to be put before us to make the change happen. All that I can ask from you, please sign that traffic law reform petition. It is in the description. I will have it as a pinned comment in this video. We have meetings every Wednesday, free. There's no membership fee to get in. We don't paywall anybody to learn. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, we host Operation Wise Dome. Y'all come in. Also, look in the description. You can find the Discord. On your way out, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, man. I love y'all. I'll see you on the next one. Will it be this one? Will it be presumptions? Will it be the advanced canonical workflow? Hey, man, all I know is knowledge. I'm not talking to give y'all some BS every single day without doing something beneficial to you. Peace and blessings, y'all. I'll see you on the next one.